Do you think there's a way to get that message across to districts without them having to learn that lesson in real time, or and in a real world way as you're describing? I guess that for us, I think, would be important to know. And I don't know if there's certainly not anything. I mean, that's pretty powerful, but just kind of wondering if there's things that people like us can be doing to kind of convey that to districts without them having to go through something like that.
But we have the momentum of the cases. So after 25 years, a dozen really solid cases one could explain as illustration. The other route is to talk about the risk management, the liability. I always try to talk about student safety, well-being, psychological safety, and that whole piece I did on learning. Honestly, that's as important, maybe just slightly less important than making sure no one gets hurt. Because making sure kids get through school educated and capable of being good citizens is so important to commerce and everything. I know it's an abstract to a lot of people, but it's up there. So making the case that from a risk management perspective and a liability perspective, that this standardization and this kind of common language is defensible in court. It actually works. It stops these situations from getting worse. And it's pro-kid, it's pro-family, it's pro-community. The final thing that we will do on occasion when we're advising, if we are getting some resistance, is we look to court cases. Probably the most frightening to pass on is the Bakersfield-Taft court case that Reed Malloy, and Reed Malloy was the lawyer for the student that was harmed. And Nick or Chris Mahandi was the lawyer for the school. And they're both the best in the field. And Reed won the day. And it was an easy win because what happened in that district was I know of the school psychologist. He's a colleague's friend. And he was doing threat assessment, but he was doing it by himself. And they weren't using the actual process that they had adopted, not just they were, if they don't have a process and they're doing the best, there is some latitude, but they weren't actually using the system. They weren't communicating together. And the terrible and painful part of this is that the administrator, and I believe the school psych, maybe counselor, they share the liability. They personally are on the hook for a percentage of the liability until that's paid off. And it's a fairly substantial number. And you don't you don't want to say, hey, dude, do this or you'll get your butt sued. But there is a bottom line to this, that you do the best you can with the information you have, right? And the system you have at your disposal and the resources you have. And if you have those set up in your district, you better follow them. If they're not in your district, but they're regional, that there's a standard of practice and you're not doing it, there's a liability increase just from being near a school district that's doing it right, because they're your neighbors. If you're off somewhere in the outback and no one near you is doing anything like this, then you do have a little bit of an argument to say, well, we really didn't know, we didn't have a model to use. But hey, most regions of the country have adequate, if not excellent, systems somewhere at play within a school district or a region. So I think I like the narratives the best to tell the stories and the case studies, but I always back that with, after 25 years, here's some stuff that really did happen. And this is what happened to people that didn't follow through, and or worse, people that were killed or severely injured.